Consider this. In 1911, China became a republic. Then, in the 1930s and 40s, Chinese nationalists and communists fought a civil war. China's history is thousands of years old, and until the mid 1800s, republicanism, nationalism, and communism were nowhere to be seen, because they are foreign ideas, not Chinese ones. And that is the theme of this post. Asia is today filled with ideas that aren't theirs, and it's leading them to ruin. This has taken a long time to come about. Asia was very resistant to Western efforts to trade with them. In the 1800s, the Western powers forced Asia to open up to trade through military force and threats of force. But once the doors were open, it became like a flood. Western ideas and material goods came to dominate. While there was resistance, a new elite came to power by using those ideas and materials. Japan even tried to reject its own history and culture and to become a European power. That only failed because the European powers rejected Japan's efforts as absurd. World War II brought about two contradictory outcomes. The Japanese conquest of Singapore meant the end of the European empires. It had broken the idea that Europeans were invincible, something that may seem stupid today, but wasn't when they had won victory after victory, which had brought Asia under their control, either directly or indirectly. The second outcome was to reinforce that the West was superior. Its way of thinking, its technology, its military force. The Allied victory in the Pacific was primarily American, which lessened the blow because while they were also white, they weren't Europeans. They were a different power, and the Korean War would push this outcome. By the end of the Cold War, the American way had joined hands with the European way and had become the Western way. Victory in the Cold War again helped. But all of this had a cost. Asia willingly surrendered its initiative to follow the West. It made Western technology. It reconfigured its economy to fit into the West's economy. It followed Western culture. That's not to say it didn't keep any of its own. It did, but it followed the West to a high degree. To give but one example, traditionally, brides in China wore red. In the West, brides wore white. Today, brides nearly everywhere wear white, because in the West, it means purity. But traditionally, in China, white was the colour of ghosts and bones. In other words, the colour of death. That's quite a big shift, but a shift that matches with the idea that the West does things better. Today, Asia is confused. Its policies have led to the same social and demographic problems that the West suffer from, a low birth rate and a culture of sterility. In South Korea, the birth rate is the lowest in the world at 0.9 births per woman. I do not think that bigger is better, but it is a symptom of the Western disease. It has accepted the Western way of doing things, even when that is disastrous. It looks to the West for the next move, but we don't have a next move. We are also confused. The confidence that once was our hallmark is rapidly diminishing. Is Asia going to follow us down the transgender fiasco? It has followed us down the feminism one. The one saving grace is that Asia has not followed us down the mass immigration and multicultural path. However, there's no evidence that Asia is capable of following its own path. Ironically, the lower IQ of other regions will protect them from our worst follies. But Asia has gained so much by following our lead, and that will lead to their downfall, as it will to ours.